My father ended up going through classical high school in Worcester, and he was the conductor of the orchestra, and I still have heard from people who remember him. He then went to Boston University and then Harvard, and has had quite a career. He has lots of experiences that have connected to our family. In our family, the joke has always been you either become a musician like my sister who went into flute, or you are a rabbi or a cantor. For a little while, I studied with a chazan in 10th and 11th grade with Samuel Rosenbaum, who his name should be a blessing. He was an amazing man. And I turned out to be a lawyer, and then now the CEO of the Jewish Federation. So it's been kind of an interesting experience. I have two cousins who are rabbis and one who's a musician. So
going back to your childhood.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit more about your involvement with Judaism as a child?
Sure. So my father was very well known in the Reform movement as one who has written a lot of music, secular as well as Jewish, and helped the congregation find cantors, and I was always someone who sung in the choir. My father wrote the motzi that people sing all over the world. Ha-motzi lechem in haaretz. That's my father's. He wrote it in 1955 for kindergarten children in Dallas, Texas. That's the big trivia that I tell everyone, and they all have the same look that you just had. So we grew up in a very active religious household, and what did that mean? We celebrated every holiday. Shabbat was most definitely a time when I studied with my father on Saturday mornings when we couldn't go to Temple because we were in Rochester, New York. So if you know Rochester, the snowstorms can be quite atrocious. It's difficult to drive there all the time. So when we couldn't go to Temple, we were at home. My mother is an amazing person. She's a writer and an amazing cook. So no one missed Shabbat dinner. And I had a very active childhood. I was in a school, a public school, that didn't have many Jews. So we were the one Hebrew school carpool, and there were maybe 4 or 5 other Jewish kids, and I got to be very friendly with them. We did experience anti-Semitism. I remember some things from my childhood. I remember in first grade, my father woke me up very early in the morning because he left for work very early, and someone had spray painted a swastika on our garage door, and he wanted to get rid of it as soon as possible. So the whole family got up and we painted over it and never called anybody and didn't do anything, and certainly didn't take a picture back then. I remember in 7th grade, I always had walked to school with a wonderful Catholic girl who decided to go to Catholic, or parents decided to send her to parochial school, and the bus was going to be at the same place that I would catch the bus for middle school and for junior high. And first day of school, 7th grade, the mother came to the door and said, "You can no longer walk with my child." And I couldn't understand why. So my mother went and talked to the mother, and it turned out that we were talking religion too much, and her mother did not want her daughter to be, as I believe my mother had said, contaminated by a Jewish thinking. So what was great about that experience for me is another friend heard what happened. She then, for the rest of my entire school, when we were walking to school, she would walk extra 2 blocks in order to come to me so that Anne Marie, the other girl, would walk alone ahead of us, and we would walk together. So I've always had friends and family who are non-Jews as well as Jews who have protected us and who have understood the Holocaust story, even though we made a big point of not talking about it very much, because my father, I believe he knew all the family members who died in camps, and he felt that for their memory, we should be moving on. In fact, he wrote an oratorio, a symphony called Choose Life, and that has been how I was brought up, that, we're all going to have things happen in our lives, and we're going to experience anti-Semitism as well as anti-everything else. I certainly have experienced a lot of things having to do with gender bias, and his philosophy and mine is, you know, you deal with it, but you move on. You name it, you condemn it, and you move on.